It wasn't hard for me because I was smart enough to do what Barry Sonnenfeld told me to do. Tom Lee Jones ran away from a violent youth for all of his life. He got hit by his dad. He had bad marriages. This person drank a lot and pushed people away. Things are falling apart now that I'm almost 80. At the opening of a new movie, he couldn't remember working with his co-star. His friends say he looks sick and lost. He stopped making movies and now hides on his ranch. The mask is coming off after decades of being the strong, quiet type. Finally, the truth about his sad last years is coming out. Jones was born on September 15, 1946, in San Saba, Texas, a small town in Texas. There were only about 3,000 people living there. From the beginning, his home life was a mess. Clyde, his dad, worked in the oil areas and used to be a cowboy. Lucy, his mother, was a police officer, a school teacher, and a beauty queen all at the same time. Their marriage didn't last. They got married twice and then split up again. Everyone in town talked about them all the time. Tommy saw his parents fight, leave each other, and then come back over and over again. The family moved every time they split up. They moved around a lot. Things became even less stable when Clyde got work in the oil field. Tommy was careful and serious during these early years. He never showed how he felt, even when he was a child. But things were a lot worse inside than they looked from the outside. His dad was very angry all the time. Clyde would come home drunk and tired from 12-hour shifts in the heat when Tommy was still little. Tommy would blow up Clyde if he did something as simple as bringing mud into their trailer. He was going to hit him hard. It got worse when oil prices dropped in the early 1950s and Clyde couldn't find work for 6 months. Late at night, people in the Midland trailer park heard screams and furniture hitting the ground. After the fact, Tommy said that he was abused a lot as a child. To stay alive, he had to learn how to tell what his dad was feeling. He became famous in Hollywood for his blank, still face. This came from the days when showing fear could make things worse. There was a big event in 1954 that changed everything. Clyde was working at a drill site when all of a sudden, a gas pocket blew up. It was Tuesday at 3:47 a.m. The flames went 200 feet into the air. There were 2 deaths. Within 50 yards, tools melted. Over 30% of Clyde's body was burned to the 3rd degree. He was in the hospital for 3 months. Tom was only 8 years old when he started doing odd jobs to help his family make ends meet. That day, 5 guys were taken to the hospital. 2 of them died in just 2 days. Tommy heard his dad scream while he was sleeping. He learned that one blast could ruin everything for a family. He thought about it all the time. Tommy never stayed in one school for long because his parents' marriage was unstable and Clyde was always looking for work. He had been to 7 schools in Texas by the time he was 12. Before he could go to Midland, Sabinal, or Rotan, he had to start over in each place. His scores went from A's to C's. Rich kids at Midland's Robert E. Lee High School looked down on him. He was big, but he didn't have much. "I'm 6 feet 1 inch and weigh 200 pounds, and I used that to fight back." He played football like he had something to prove when he joined the team. It was too hard when he hit. He got in trouble with the rules sometimes, but no one could mess with him on the field. His father got a good job in Libya when Tommy was 13, but Tommy stayed in Texas. He had won a spot at one of the best schools in the state, St. Mark's School in Dallas. At age 16, he worked with his father on the oil rigs again during the summer. It was often 110 degrees, and the shifts were 14 hours long. It was unsafe to do the job. He worked with big tools, cleaned up chemicals, and was close to machines that could kill a person in an instant. In 1962, he saw one of his co-workers lose 3 fingers in front of him. There was blood all over the drill floor. Help did not show up. 45 minutes. Tom made $3.50 an hour that summer. He dropped 25 pounds and always had sores on his feet. A 500-pound drill bit came loose one day and broke the bench next to him. He almost died. He learned pain, discipline, and grit during those years. He will never forget how diesel smelled or how it felt to be so close to death. Tommy Lee Jones was able to go to Harvard for free in 1965. Moss Hall, room B12, was his first home. The man across the way, Al Gore, would go on to become vice president. They moved in together and lived there for 4 years. They also lived with Bob Summerby later on. Summerby would go on to run a site that checks the media. Tom and Al Gore argued about books and politics until late at night. That friendship was strong for many years. Tom gave a speech at the 2000 Democratic National Convention for Al Gore. Toyo helped run the show when Al Gore won the Nobel Peace Prize. He got his degree in English literature in 1969, cum laude. He said that Harvard taught him how to learn. To learn was the heart of performance, he said. Aside from that, he played football at Harvard. He wore number 61 on his shirt. He stood 6 feet 1 inch and weighed 1,200 pounds. On the 1968 team that went perfect, he played offensive guard. A legendary game marked the end of that season. They played Yale on November 23, 1968. There were only 42 seconds left, and the score was 29-13. They scored twice and tied the game at 29-29. It said, "Harvard beats Yale, 29-29, in the school newspaper the next day. In the end, Tommy was on the field for that miracle. That game was so well known that in 2008, it was turned into a documentary. In 2010, Tommy stood in Dunster House again and spoke at a showing of the movie. Tommy was also involved in the theater scene at Harvard. People were shocked by how raw and intense his part in Coriolanus was. People in school and among students talked about it for many years. Even back then, it was clear he had something special. In 1967, he was in the Ladies Not for Burning with John Lithgow, beginning a friendship that lasted for many years. In 2012, when he got the Harvard Arts Medal, he said that college had been the most creative thing that had ever touched him. After high school, he went to New York. His first paid play was A Patriot for Me, which was directed by Harold Pinter. In 1969, that happened. He was in Fortune and Men's Eyes, For on a Garden, Blue Boys, and Ulysses in Nighttown over the next few years. During the years 1971 to 1975, he played Dr. Mark Tolan on the soap series One Life to Live to Make Money. Love Story, which came out in 1970, was his first movie part. He only had a small part, but it made people notice him. The main character in that movie was partly based on Tommy and Al Gore, who were interesting to author Eric Siegel while he was at Harvard. 7 Oscars were given to the movie, which made more than $130 million. The Amazing Howard Hughes was a 2-part TV movie that Jones appeared in 1977. It aired a year after Hughes had died. He played Hughes in all of them, from young genius to broken recluse. Some people said it was the most true movie ever made. Jones got it all right, the voice, the movements, everything. He was in Rolling Thunder that same year. He is playing a quiet, hurt Vietnam veteran. Some people thought he was amazing. The movie Eyes of Laura Mars came out in 1978. He played a detective who was looking for a killer in the world of violent fashion photos. The movie became a fan favorite and made $20 million. In the same year, he played a race car driver who was creating a new car during the energy crisis in the Betsy. Tom's heart never left Texas, though. On 55 acres in San Saba, he built a polo ranch with a field, an exercise track, and 48 stalls for horses. He helped Harvard's polo team for more than 15 years by giving them money and horses. His ranch was like boot camp for the people who trained there. He also bought a Florida polo farm on 50 acres and sold it for $26.75 million in 2013. He wasn't interested in looks. During droughts, he played polo on rough ground because that's what cowboys did. That's what he was. Toy Lee Jones's role as Doolittle Lynn in Coal Miner's Daughter in 1980 was the start of something big. Over $67 million was made at the box office, even though the movie was only made for $15 million. It was based on the life of country star Loretta Lynn. Jones was up for his first Golden Globe. Sissy Spacek got the Oscar for Best Actress, though. Kentucky and Tennessee were used to film the whole movie, which made the story seem more real. Some tense bar scenes made people wonder if things got rough off camera as well, but no one ever said for sure. The film was added to the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress in 2019 because it was important to American society and history. Tom then played one of his darkest parts yet in 1983. He played Gary Gilmore in the scary TV movie The Executioner's Song, which was based on a real man who killed 2 people and insisted on being put to death. Jones won the award for that part. There were 4 hours of movie that told the story. It was written by Norman Mailer, who also wrote the book. They talked to more than 120 people to make sure they got everything right. Some people thought Jones had gone too far with his method acting, but there was never any proof that he was putting his health at risk for the part. In the 1986 movie The Park Is Mine, he took over Central Park. He played a Vietnam veteran who made the park look like a battlefield to show how badly soldiers were treated. Before he died, his friend left behind guns and plans, which Jones's character used to make his point. The story seemed like it came from a John Rambo movie, and the music was by Tangerine Dream. Even though there were big blasts, no one was hurt on set. He directed and played in the 1995 TV western The Good Old Boys. He wasn't just playing another part. It was there that he met Dawn Laurel, the woman he would marry. He was 49 years old and still married to someone else. Dawn was 31 years old and worked as a camera assistant. During the movie, they started going out together, and on March 19, 2001, in Texas, they got married. Some reviewers said the movie was too much of a vanity project, and there were rumors that it cost $500,000 more than planned, but this was never proven. Jones played a prisoner and killer who got caught up in a Cold War plan in the 1989 package. It was a bad time because the Berlin Wall came down 3 months later, making the whole idea seem out of date. He worked with Gene Hackman and shot scenes in bad weather. Some people said it was cold and hard, but there were no formal reports of him getting hurt or the language training being too hard for him. His big Oscar win was for The Fugitive in 1993. He won the award for Best Supporting Actor over Leonardo DiCaprio and others for his role as Deputy U.S. Marshal Samuel Gerard. The movie made almost $370 million around the world, but what shocked people wasn't his acting. In that case, Harrison Ford was hurt. And even though he tore his ACL during a chase in the woods, Ford didn't tell anyone about it. He did his own moves even though a disc in his back was hurt. The famous dam jump scene had to be res hot because the fireworks didn't work. Every time, Ford was in a lot of pain. In 1994, Jones let free in Boss Killers. He played a crazy jail warden who was so out there that Oliver Stone, the director, had to fight the MPAA to keep the movie from getting an NC-17 rating. The show was full of rants that weren't planned, and the studio executives were furious. Stone had to cut scene after scene until August 26, 1994, when they finally got air grade. Afterward, the movie was called one of the most controversial ever and blamed for making people violent in real life. After that, Batman Forever came out in 1995. Things got bad behind the flashy Two-Face makeup. There was a diner where Jim Carrey talked to Jones. Jones told him straight out, "Hate you. I can't agree with your stupid behavior." Carrey had just become the king of comedies in Hollywood. Jones didn't like Jones's way, though. They didn't get along at all while they were shooting, and Joel Schumacher had to keep the peace. Carrey later said that the meeting felt very real and strangely personal. Jones went back to comedy and action in Men in Black, which came out in 1997, but not without chaos. He kept hurting camera helpers and breaking props by mistake. Barry Sonnenfeld, the director, said they had to take the neuralizer away from him until the very end. He also made weird noises while trying to shoot, which messed up takes without him knowing it. During a scene set 15 feet above the ground in a car shell, Will Smith let out a terrible fart that Jones almost passed out. Still, the movie made almost $590 million and started a whole series of movies. In the 1999 show Double Jeopardy, Jones insisted on doing all of his own moves in a cold river. Even though he was 56 years old at the time, he didn't want a double because he had trained with the FBI for the part. In one scene, he got stuck under the water and almost killed. The crew had to come and save him. It was very close, but the movie still made $177 million. Jones took part in and directed all three of Melchioride Estrada's funerals in 2005. The movie was based on a true story about the killing of a teenager near the border. I learned Spanish and worked closely with the writer Guillermo Arriaga, who won Best Screenplay at Cannes. It took 2 years to get ready. In that show too, Jones won Best Actor. That it made less than $10 million showed Jones cared more about art than money at the box office. Jones played Sheriff Ed Tom Bell in the 2007 movie No Country for Old Men. Aside from Best Picture, the movie made $171 million and won 4 Oscars. Jones gave the movie its heart and weight, especially in his last speech, in which he talked about how evil makes him feel helpless. They wrote the part just for him because they knew he could say more with silence than with words. By 2010, he was playing a businessman in The Company Men, a story about people who lost their jobs during the 2008 financial crash. Jones's character had slowly built the business from scratch and now had to see good workers lose their jobs. His shows were emotional and showed what real people were going through at the time. The movie cost $15 million to make and was shot during a real time of economic instability. Jones played Thaddeus Stevens in the 2012 movie Lincoln. He wore a big fake black wig because that's what Stevens really looked like. Jones also asked Spielberg not to shave his eyebrows, but he said no. Jones gave angry speeches and spent months researching Stevens' life. Some of the most powerful parts of the movie were his lines about stopping slavery. By 2014, he was back in The Homesman, this time as both director and star. In the movie, he and Hilary Swank played 2 people who took mentally ill women across dangerous borderlands. The movie showed how hard life was for pioneers and talked about things like mental illness in a way that Western movies usually don't. It cost $16 million to make and was shot in New Mexico, where there were real horses and strong winds. Jones played CIA Director Dewey in the 2016 movie Jason Bourne. Dewey was in charge of killing Bourne's father. It made $415 million. But Jones's enemies said he looked worn out. Many changes had been made to the script, and some people thought he didn't want to be there. Someone made fun of the fact that his face looked like the Grand Canyon. After a year, he played a real reporter in the movie Shock and Awe, which was about writers who questioned what the US government said before the Iraq War. They were the only ones who got the story right, as the movie showed. Jones played Joe Galloway, and real reporters helped guide the movie to make sure it was true to life. They were even on the set while the movie was being made. Jones played Brad Pitt's lost father in the 2019 movie Ad Astra. The father was an astronaut who went missing near Neptune. Zero-gravity training and real-life effects were used to make the movie look as real as possible. Pitt had to go through training that made him sick, while Jones stayed out of the way. The film made $135 million and was up for Best Sound Mixing. In the 2020 movie Wonder, he played a conspiracy theorist who co-hosted a podcast with a detective who was very suspicious. There were hints of MK-Ultra, Border Patrol, and chip devices in the movie. Over 10,000 IMDb users gave it a low score of 4.9 out of 10, but Jones still made his scenes feel real. And at the premiere of The Best Kind in 2023, something strange took place. Jones walked up to Jenna Ortega and asked, "Did we have any scenes together?" She had to take a moment to tell him that they did. People began to wonder if the 77-year-old actor was having memory loss after the video went popular. Just 2 days before the movie came out, it was a quiet and awkward moment. As far as I know, Tommy Lee Jones never sought fame. But as time went on, stories began to form about him. Some of them were true. It was said in whispers, and some of the things that were said couldn't really be true. Lots of people said online that he turned down parts in Pulp Fiction and The Shawshank Redemption. But there isn't any real proof when you look into it. Tom Hanks turned down Shawshank because he had to work on Forrest Gump. Tim Robbins then got the part. Stars of Pulp Fiction like Michael Madsen and Lawrence Fishburne turned down important parts. What about Tommy Lee Jones? No matter what people say online, he was never publicly part of either movie. Another report was that he punched a stuntman on the set of Under Siege, and he had to pay the stuntman $100,000 to settle the case. Again, though, there are no reports that happened. In 1992, Under Siege came out. A lot of people liked it. And brought Steven Seagal even more fame. Tom Lee Jones was also in it, and he was as fierce as always. But the supposedly big punch and payout isn't in any of the public records. People who worked on the show never said anything like that. There were no known problems with the picture being shot, finished, and released. Another story said that Samuel L. Jackson almost quit working on the Sunset Limited because he didn't get along with Jones. That movie came out in 2011. Only Jones and Jackson played parts in it, and it was small and quiet. Jones led them as they talked about life and death in a room. Some people on the internet said Jackson wanted to leave because he and the band couldn't agree on how to make music, but interviews from the time show a different picture. After the fact, Jackson said it was one of his hardest parts, not because of the drama, but because of the deep philosophical theme of the script. The two men looked up to each other. No one walked out or fought. There was a strange story going around that Jones broke his arm playing polo in the early 2000s, which caused Men in Black 2 and Lat War 2 to be delayed. However, there is no evidence to support that. The movie was shot from June 2001 to 2002 and came out in theaters that same year. The real holds-up were caused by the 9/11 strikes. Some scenes had to be changed because they took place in New York. It wasn't about polo. Jones has been hurt playing polo more than once, including a bad fall in 1998 that knocked him out. However, none of those injuries helped him finish Men in Black faster. One story, though, is based on real events that happened on the set of Black Moon Rising in 1986. Jones was drinking a lot at the time. Linda Hamilton, who worked with him, later said that it made her hate working with him. She didn't hold back. She said that his drinking made everything worse. Jones never told anyone in public what made him drink during those years. His secret about that part of his life was known to everyone on set. He was just 40 years old at the time and was still trying to make a name for himself in movies. He was having a bad time at work and in his home life. Jones's personal life also had its ups and downs. The wedding took place on New Year's Eve 1971. She was the granddaughter of Ring Lardner, a famous author. She had 2 kids from a previous marriage and quit acting to take care of Tommy. But by 1978, everything was broken. If you filed for divorce on February 9, you said that he was too focused on work. Kate said he didn't spend much time with the family. They were married for a little more than 6 years. Kate started over with her work after the breakup and eventually became a sound editor in the movie business. In 1981, he got married again, this time to Kimberly Cloughley, a photographer he met while making Backroads. They had 2 kids. Vicky was born in 1991, and Austin was born in 1982. But while The Fugitive was being filmed in 1993, whispers began to spread. There were rumors of an affair on set. The next year, during Blue Sky, things got worse when reports said he was seeing Jessica Lange. Kimberly asked for a divorce in the year 1996. The court gave her full custody of the kids, a lot of money, and help going forward. What shocked everyone was how upset Jones got while they were talking about custody. He did not wish to lose touch with his children. They were married for almost 15 years. In 1995, he met Dawn Laurel while making The Good Old Boys. It was her job to work behind the camera, and they clicked right away. He was still married at the time, but the marriage was ending. By 1998, they were seen together in public. Finally, on March 19, 2001, they got married in Texas without telling anyone. Part of the land was even planned by her sister. Things changed in 2024, though. Online rumors said that Dawn had been told she had a dangerous illness. Even though nothing is certain, Jones suddenly quit his job. He told close friends that he wanted to stay with Dawn on their 3,000-acre ranch in Texas when he was 78 years old. He owned more than just that land. The polo ranch he bought in 2002 was 55 acres and had a pro-level field, 48 horse stalls, and a country house. But in 2010, a terrible thing happened. A guest got hurt badly during a polo match and sued him for $2.3 million. The guest said it was because of dangerous conditions and bad horse care. Jones fought back. The court agreed with him and said that polo was naturally dangerous. Still, he had to pay more than $400,000 in lawyer fees. In 1998, he had his own scary moment when a horse fell and threw him off at a different ranch near Houston. He was hit by the horse. He passed out and was taken to the hospital right away. After 2 days, he was back watching his team play from the stands. When it comes to his kids, he stays out of the open. Austin only played a banjo player in Jones's 2014 movie The Homesman. He also worked on the music behind the scenes. He stopped acting after that and focused on singing full-time. Dead Calm came out in 2022 and At the Polo Club came out in 2023. Both records were put out by a small label called Perpetual Doom. He also composed music for movies like Frontera and Metamorphosis, junior year. Vicky also played a few small parts. Her first movie role was in Men in Black 2 when she was only 11. Her second role was in The Three Burials of Melquiades Estrada. Jones even fired her from a set once because she wasn't there on time. The workers had to step in and make things better. People began to worry in December 2023. Jones looked painfully thin and lost at the screening of Finest, Ken. Friends were shocked. His eyes looked hollow. He even asked Jenna Ortega if they had worked together in the movie, even though they had already done a scene together. Jenna gently told him again. The video of that went viral. People started to wonder if it was memory loss. Was he not feeling well? The whispers went crazy in 2025. A few people said he had cancer. Others thought it might be Alzheimer's or another sickness. Even so, there was never a formal statement. Jones has always kept things to himself, especially when it came to his health. People were afraid of the worst because of how he looked, talked, and stopped acting all of a sudden. In terms of money, he also lost a lot. It was worth $10.95 million when he sold his Wellington, Florida golf estate in 2019. It was first offered for $26.75 million in 2013. That may sound like a lot of money. It costs $15.8 million. He bought different parts of the land over time. In 2002, he paid $2.95 million, in 2003, $1.1 million, and in 2012, $550,000. It had 2 polo fields, a staff house, and a lot of booths. It did not sell. No matter what, he kept his huge 3,000-acre ranch in Texas with its 150-year-old house, 50 horses, and full cattle operations. Even with all of his ups and downs, Jones is still thought to be worth $100 million in 2025. It was won through movies like The Fugitive, Men in Black, and No Country for Old Men. Besides starring, he wrote and produced the movie. He was given the Nastia Lifetime Achievement Award at the San Sebastian Film Festival in 2012 for his work on over 70 projects in over 30 years. That award came to him while he was still healthy and busy. People still admire, fear, and are interested in him, but he stays mostly quiet on his land, away from Hollywood.